one thing. Let's check. Close that out. Go to YouTube. We'll check on my phone. See if it's out there, out and about. My channel says live. How come it is not there? Well, it shows it on my phone. Well, there it is, now on the computer. Oh well, let's see how this plays out. Okay, let's get rid of that. That's not nice. Okay, so 4 minutes into this thing. I think it's finally out there. All right, welcome to my channel. It's hectic sometimes. It's almost like it's Monday, but it's not. It's Thursday night, 9 o'clock. Minutes with Milo show is live, and we're up and running. And tonight's topic is going to be about the game cornhole. Now, if you're watching it live, please comment and let me know. I've got my phone line up, so give me a call. I may try to convince one of these regular viewers to call me and, give me their opinion on cornhole. Went to a work party today, 4th of July. We went out to Steels Creek Park, had a good time, and hadn't had one in a while because of this nasty COVID business. But got back into it this year. Pretty good time. And of course, what? They brought a lot of games. They brought the Jenga game. They brought Scrabble. What else? They brought some kind of game that they seemed like they were having pretty good fun with about memes. And it was a card-based game, and it had pictures, and then, like, I don't know, a little phrase, and I didn't play, but it was about memes. And then somebody brought horseshoes. Horseshoes is a little bit difficult because they didn't have a sand pit, but they put them up anyway and had the stakes in the ground and tossed some horseshoes. But by far the biggest thing seemed to be the cornhole game. And I mean, I've played it a few times and never, really paid attention. But today we were setting it up, and you know, these one person, her husband, had made these boards and set them up, and they were nice. And made out of 2x4s and plywood, and just like you'd expect, and they were shellacked or uh, painted, varnished, something. And daggone, man, they were slick. So we were tossing the bags, and they would just hit the boards and just shoot right off the end. And I'm not very good. You toss these bags. And they were talking about when we were setting it up, had to have a tape measure. Well, luckily one guy had brought a tape measure, and we put them 27 feet apart from nose to nose. I thought, man, it's getting complicated. And then we started playing. And, if you've ever played cornhole, you try to get it in the hole in the middle. We'll go over some of the rules, the history, those kind of things. But they kept sliding off the end, and then one would get in, and then you knock somebody else's bag off the board. And so people there some of them are quite good, quite good. And it wasn't, I had thrown, you get 4 bags each. And so we were playing 2 players on one end, 2 players on the other. Okay, so my team had 4 bags, and that team had 4 bags, and we tossed them back and forth, back and forth. You know how it goes. So I had tossed twice. That means I had tossed a total of 8 bags. My team had tossed a total of 16 bags, and already it was 17-0 against us. I said, well, dang, how could that be? I mean, we hadn't been playing this game for 5 minutes, and we were already 17-0, getting our butts whipped. And it's just like, well, there's this one in the hole, and there's that one's in the hole, cancels that one, and then this one slid up here, and then that knocked that one off. So, oh, blah, blah, blah. I thought, man, you're making these rules up as you go so that you can win. Oh, no, 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 no. These are all rules. So I thought, well, tonight's show would be about cornhole. And it is serious business, people. Serious business. Now, we didn't play serious. We're getting our hats handed to us every time we turned around by these two fellas. And so, but that's all right. I mean, and I was throwing, like most people throw underhanded, right? So I thought, well, shoot, I'm going to throw it like a baseball. You know, the whole thing is to hit the board, maybe let it slide up and drop in the hole. I was going, what are you doing? I said, I'm throwing cornhole. You can't throw it overhanded. I said, what do you mean I can't throw it overhanded? I throw it in daggone well I want to. Is there a rule? Well, I don't think so. There's been a couple of times that, the bag, opposing team's bag hit it and slid up, got next to the hole. So I reared back and pitched that thing. And the hole, to me, it wasn't about getting in the hole because I couldn't do that anyway. It was about knocking theirs off so they wouldn't get a point. And I wailed on that thing a couple of times, like pitching baseball. But I tried the hook shot, and we were playing under a cover. It was a pretty good size, it wasn't a gazebo. It was a building. We rented the lodge building or whatever it was for parties and stuff. So had a real good sized front porch on it. And that's where we were, and had picnic tables, and it was all concrete and everything. And I tried a hook shot, and it went up and hit the rafters and just dropped straight down in between the two boards. And I was like, man, that ain't working. So I'd shoot like basketball or throw it like a baseball, or most times just throw it an underhanded. And it's just like these two guys, they play horseshoes a lot, and they toss, cornhole a lot. So they had it down. Hit, slide, drop, hit, slide, drop. And just whipping anybody that was up against it, pretty much whipping their butts. And, some of you people were pretty decent, but when you're paired with me, you have to be excellent because you got to carry yourself and my butt and win it. Now, true, we come close and we'd win some if we weren't playing against these, the real good guys. Uh, and it was fun. It's not. It was hot today, even though we weren't out in the sun. It was hot. It was in the 80s, mid to high 80s. Humidity was pretty thick. So, you wouldn't think that standing next to a board on the ground, chucking these bags would make you sweat. Well, it can. Trust me, it can. If the temperature's right, it can. What they took, turns and doing all that kind of stuff. And I didn't pitch horseshoes. There was some horseshoes to pitch. I'm not good at that either. But right outside the building there is where they were pitching them. And it wasn't very flat. It rolled off this hill down the side. So every once in a while, if you've ever pitched horseshoes, especially without a sand pit, those things are kind of like a hula hoop. You get them on their edge, and they can whoop, 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 whoop. A couple of them had to roll down the hill. You had to go get them. But it was a pretty good day. I mean, it's a good day playing cornhole. Even getting your butt handed to you is a better day at work than at work, right? So didn't catch any fish either. I caught a bluegill, probably about that big, and I was trying to get it in, basically, get it off my hook, and my reel wasn't working right, so I had to pull the line in, and hold the rod up, and he just flipped once, bloop, dropped right back in the water and swam off. That was about it. So, those fish jumping, breaking water, but none of them were biting. And so got interested in the cornhole history. Yeah, cornhole history, about all that. So let's look at that. And I've got up on Google here, cornhole the game and its history, and then believe it or not, American Cornhole Association has the official rules out there. Okay, so yeah, tournaments, everything. Uh, okay, so we'll look at that. We'll look at all these things. So let's look at present, share my screen, share clock. No, cornhole rules. Yes, there it is. There we go. All right. So let's see. It says there's 2 people watching. Who is that? I'm not watching anymore. I cut mine off. I don't think my phone's up and running. So let's see. Nope. All right. So I'm not watching it. So there's 2 people out there. There's Cleo. All right. So let me do this. Whoop. Making a little. Put that up there. May get you to, if you can, get you to call in. I haven't had anybody to talk to on the phone in a long time. Maybe I'll get Clay, or if Robert shows up, we might call him and see if he can get on. But if he's watching on his phone, he might not be able to call in because he was there to witness the mayhem today. So let's look at the origins. All right. So it's really, it's one of those things. I'm not sure anybody really knows for sure. Let's see. Add that to the stream. There we go. Now we're looking at it. So I don't know. Anything you look at on the internet, you almost got to take with a grain of salt. So whether this is true or not, this comes from HudsonValley.org, and it's an article on cornhole. And it says cornhole, the game and its history. So it says, some say it was invented in the 14th century Germany. Others credit the Black Hawk tribe of Illinois. Still others point to a Kentucky farmer in the 1800s. Now, I thought it was very recent, and this is why. However, whatever its origins, the game cornhole emerged as a favorite pastime in Cincinnati about 15 years ago, and soon spread like wildfire to backyards, beaches, breweries, campgrounds across the United States, even here in the Empire State. In 2011, the New York Times declared that Midwest's favorite game is sweeping the Northeast. And it gives some pretty good reasons, and I agree with these reasons. It wouldn't take a rocket scientist to figure out why. All right. So it talks about professional football game and people out there tailgating, they're playing, cornhole. And like anything else, when it gets popular, there's people that come up with all kinds of team-related cornhole games. And it's simple because I'll read you the dimensions. The boards are pretty daggone big. So if you're an Atlanta Braves, I know that's not football, but you know what I mean. Dallas Cowboys. Is there such thing as the Cowboys anymore? I don't know. Whoever you pick Pittsburgh, borrowers. Since you can't be Steelers anymore, maybe they could be borrowers. But logos, Coke, Sprite, Pepsi, breweries, I don't know, Coors Light. Everybody that can has probably got their logo, their beer can, their Pop Tart, whatever it is on a cornhole board because it's good size. So why is the game so popular? All right, according to the American Cornhole Association, it talks about they're portable. So even though they're pretty good size, the legs fold up underneath them and you slide them in, the back of your car. gotta have a decent trunk or a SUV or something like that. Uh, you don't have to have a pit. You don't have to have sand. You probably should have a tape measure if you're wanting to get all technical with it. But I mean, you could pace it off, step it off, do whatever you want to get the distance between them. That kind of stuff. So fairly easy to set up, and the rules I think are fairly simple. Scoring, just I'd never put my brain to it, and then there was like I'm 4 minutes in, and I'm already getting like slam basted, 17-0. Hard to believe. All right, so and if you have kids, you can move the boards in. There's a set junior level, but if they're your kids, you can set them toe to toe. It doesn't matter. Okay, so and the bags are relatively light, and they're not rocks. They don't have pointy, spiky ends on them or anything like that. So it does, and it's competitive. And yeah, there's skill involved and a lot of luck. Okay, so it's if you start thinking about it like anything, you start thinking about the nuances of the game, and you start realizing, well, are these the correct size? Are they the correct angle? Is the hole the right size? Did they wax them? Are these things extra slick? What's that material the bags are made of? What's in the bags? Does that make it? How much do the bags weigh? You could really start nitpicking this thing to death and start wondering about all these little nuances that go into this. And there's a lot, you know. We'll look at the rules, in the official layout here in a minute. So that's why it's popular, right? So, young people to old people, if you have enough flexibility in your arm to throw it overhand, like I said, I was pitching them baseball style. So, I mean, if you can do that, you can play cornhole and you can move the boards around closer for, elderly if you wanted to, and go back, you know, regular size, regular spacing for, you know, people that really wanted to compete. And it's good conversation. You stand around, you throwing these bags, you're making fun of each other. Well, look the way he's throwing it. What's he doing? Two-stepping up to the board and tossing it like, underhanded. So it's good fun. So it says here that the game is played is simple. Groups of 2 or 4 players takes turns pitching bags into opposing cornhole platforms with the goal of scoring a corn bag in the hole. All right. So, and that's worth 3 points. Bags landing on the platform but not completely going into the hole are 1 point. And you played a 21. So, is that exactly where it came from? I mean, who knows? I mean, if you don't patent something and have the first, patent on it, how do you know? I would love to know what why it thinks, what was a game that was in 14th century Germany that they played that was like cornhole? Let's see what Wikipedia, the authority on all, has to say. History. The game was first described. Okay, man, I can't say this person's name. Heilinger de Wittitz, 1883 patent for parlor quoits. Displays most of the features of modern cornhole, but with a square hole instead of a round one. Ooh. The game is similar to horseshoes, playing by throwing steel discs. Oh, they're describing horseshoes. Let's see. Basically, he wanted to make, and this is true, like an indoor version of horseshoe. And that's kind of what it is. He was the first to use bean bags and a slanted board with a hole as the target. He sold the rights to the of the game to the Massachusetts toy manufacturer that marketed a version of it under the name of Fava Baga. Unlike more modern cornhole, which is one hole and one size of bags, a Fava Baga board had two different sized holes with different point values and provided each player with one extra large bag per round, which would score double points. In September '74, Popular Mechanics magazine published an article written by Carol Farrell about a similar game called Beanbag Bullseye. Beanbag Bullseye was played on a board the same width as modern cornhole boards, 24 inches, but only 36 inches long as opposed to the 48-inch length in cornhole. The hole was the same diameter, 6 inches, but was centered 8 instead of 9 from the back of the board. See, we'll get into the layout of these boards, but it's kind of particular. And it should be, right? If you're going to be playing cornhole, if it's my boards, it should be the same as Clell's boards. You've got to have the rules, even though, it might seem a little nitpicky, but, that's the way it is. You want, thing to be standardized, and you got to lay out each step. So it talks about, 30 inches apart, 10 foot for kids. Scoring was essentially the same as used in cornhole. In the Chicago area, a similar game referred to as bags that uses rectangular bags. The game spread in Chicago, Illinois, and northwest of Indiana in the late 70s and early 80s. So the American Cornhole Association, ACO, was established in 2005 by Frank Gears and is headquartered in Milford, Ohio. As of August 1st, 2019, the ACO claimed on its website to be the governing body for the sport of cornhole. Self-proclaimed. Somebody's got to proclaim it, right? Its sole mission is to help cornhole players enjoy the game of cornhole. All right. So let's look. Let me go over here. And this is the picture of the cornhole board. And this is what we played on. Okay. These are 2x4s along the edges, and then the plywood, the guy that made this one, these look like they're screwed down, which I don't think I would screw it down. He used tiny finishing nails, and then those were countersunk, and he used wood filler putty, cover the nail holes, sanded all that smooth, stained it, and then apparently shellacked it or waxed it. Or polyurethane, probably. Polyurethane. Well, like I said, those daggone things were slick. See this one here is just raw wood. Now it's sanded down. I don't like these, screws around the edges, but this is sanded down smooth. And it looks like that's, his were good quality plywood. This looks like it's good quality plywood. So now what are you doing? Quit that. All right, so let's just jump over here to the American Cornhole Association. Let's go to the ACO. Okay, get back up here. Don't want to jump ahead. No jumping ahead, peoples. Okay, so they've got a video. So they call it a court. I guess you got to have a terminology from where you're standing, right? So the court layout. The following dimensions and measures will serve to determine how far apart to place cornhole boards, as well as positioning of the players during the game. Court dimensions. A cornhole court shall be of level rectangle area 8 to 10 feet wide and a minimum of 40 to 45 feet long. Holy bejeebies. That's way big. That's bigger than what you really need. I mean, I guess, The tennis court has area around it, and that's not where everybody plays. I don't know. The court consists of 2 cornhole boards designated pitcher's boxes, and foul lines. We're going to see a picture of all this here in a second. The pitcher's box is the rectangle 4 feet by 3 feet at each end of the court, parallel with and on both sides of the boards. Each player must remain in the pitcher's box while pitching a cornhole bag. Okay, 4 by 3, each end of the court, parallel with and on both sides of the board. I definitely need a picture. All right, foul lines. There are 2 sets of foul lines: open adult play and junior play for children 12 and under. The adult foul lines shall be defined as an imaginary line 27 feet between the front of each board. Okay, that's what we measured out. 27 feet from nose to nose. When the boards are facing each other, nose to nose. The junior play foul lines are defined as an imaginary line 12 to 15 feet between the front of each board. Well, why do you go 12 to 15 feet? Make it just say 13 feet, 14 feet, 12 feet, whatever it is. Foul line shall be parallel to the front of the opposite board to meet ACA guidelines. So here's the picture. All right, court width 8 to 10 feet. Okay, court length 40 to 45 feet. Okay, so we'll do a little math here. But anyway, we played the adult size. That was 27 feet from nose to nose. Okay, I'm going to skip ahead just a bit. The board in the American Cornhole Association, ACA. What was ACO? American Cornhole Organization, or is it association? Anyway, these days. Said the board was 48 inches long. That's 4 feet. So 4 feet, 27 feet, and 4 feet more. So 8 and 27 is what? 8, 17, be 34, 35 feet. Okay. So it's 35 feet from back to back. That's why they want it 40 to 45 feet. So you can have, 5 feet on the back side to walk around, step back, get out of the way. So the pitcher's box is on either side of the board. And what is a pitcher's box size? Foul lines. Pitcher's box is 4 by 3 feet. So they don't have that measurement shown here, but since the board is 4 feet long, I would say pitcher's box is 4 feet long. So they show it measured there, and 3 feet wide. So as you stand in the pitcher's box, you stand beside the cornhole board. All right. You get from back of the board to the front of the board, and 3 feet from the side of the board. That's your area that you have to stand in while you're pitching. Now, there was a guy today, and I tried it, stood exactly behind the board. So instead of, if you're standing to the side of the board trying to pitch it, you've got to pitch it at a slight angle to get it to land on the board. So you're going from, let's say the right-hand side of your board all the way down to land on the board. So you've got to pitch it at just a slight angle. Well, he was standing behind the board so he could throw it straight. Apparently, that's a no-no because you're outside the pitcher's box. And apparently, you can't go more forward. It's like bowling. In bowling, they got that where the lane actually starts and your toe can't cross it or it's a foul. So the foul line, forward foul line, is the edge of the front of the board. You see it if you see it in this picture. If you don't see it, if you listen to this this will be a podcast later. If you're listening on the podcast, think of the front of the board, the front edge. You can't go past that imaginary line. You can't break that line. So it says each cornhole board shall be 47.5 to 48 inches in length and 23.5 to 24 inches wide. Well, I guarantee you most people are making it 48 to 24. Why is that? Because you buy a sheet of plywood, it's a 4x8 sheet. Okay? So you can get the two tops of your board out of one sheet of plywood. Okay? 4x8. You can get it out of that. Make each board 24 inches wide and 48 inches long, which is 2 feet by 4 feet. Well, isn't that interesting? You get two of them out of a 4x8 sheet or an 8x4 sheet. However you like to do the math, it all comes out. Made of smooth plywood that measures at least a ½ inch thick. So why? I think because those bags, when they're flying down, I'll go to the weight to the bags here in a second, and they hit that board, it has to be solid. You don't want it bowing and bouncing. All right. So when they hit it, it doesn't bounce, doesn't deflect. It's just, solid. All right. At least a ½ inch thick. The hole in each cornhole board shall be 6 inches in diameter, plus or minus a ¼ inch. So you got 6-inch hole. The center of that hole should be 9 inches from the top and 12 inches from the side edges. Okay, so you have to measure down from the top to the center of the hole 9, in from each side. Center of the hole is 12 inches from each side. Well, that's funny because it's a 2-foot wide board, right? What happens if you made your board 23.5 inches? You couldn't make that. It says within a quarter, plus or minus a ¼ inch. Oh my gosh. Why do all that math, dude? Just make the stupid board 4x2 and put the center of the hole 9 inches from, put in from each side, put a hole there, draw a 6-inch circle, and cut it out. The front of the cornhole board shall be 3 inches from top to bottom. That's why people on the edge of those will make them out of 2x4. So it's 3 to 4 inches. A 2x4 is not 4 inches tall. What is it? 3 3/4, something like that. So making the edges out of a 2x4, making the perimeter, laying a sheet of plywood on top, fastening it down, and they put legs on it in the back. The back of the cornhole board shall be approximately 12 inches from the ground to the highest point of the deck. So you make the legs, they fold underneath there. When you unfold them, it tilts up, and it's got to be from the top of the board down to the ground 12 inches. The board finish shall be sanded to a very smooth texture, and there shall not be any blemishes in the wood surface that might disrupt or distort play. So, if you want to have an official American Cornhole Association approved board, it doesn't say you can stain it, you can't varnish it, you can't polyurethane it, because it says it's sanded to a smooth texture with no blemishes. So apparently raw wood is the only acceptable official cornhole board. These things that have the logos and they're polished and they're painted and all that stuff could not be used in a tournament. So if you ever go to a cornhole tournament and it's got somebody's logo in the middle of it, just tell the dude, oh, man, I ain't playing on that. That's not sanctioned. It's got to be sanded smooth to a smooth texture with no blemishes. You've already sanded it and covered it up with a nice slick varnish, and that stuff sails off the board. I don't know what an airmail board is. We're skipping that. Go to the bags real quick. Let's go to the bags. Cornhole bags shall be made of 2 fabric squares, 6 1/4 by 6 1/4, with a 1/4 inch stitched seam on all 4 sides. Bags should be made from a durable fabric. So what you do is, you 6 1/4, and then come in 1/4 inch and sew a stitch around it to make the seam. The thickness of the bag when laying flat on a hard surface should be approximately 1 inch, and then plus or minus an 1/8 of an inch thick. So cut your 6 1/4 inch squares, put them together, you sew your diameter, and then you got to fill it with something. Each bag shall be filled with plastic pellets or corn feed. And finished bags should be roughly 6 square inches with a weight of 14 to 16.25 ounces. So, plastic pellets or corn feed, not rice, not black beans, not navy beans, not dry beans, none of that stuff. Plastic pellets or corn feed. And I'm going to think it's probably whole kernel corn like you feed to your deer, that kind of stuff. Hence, corn whole. So, specific weight, specific size, a specific content for the stuff inside the bag, even down to the amount of stitching that there is and how thick it is when you set it on the ground, flatten it out, how thick the bags can be. How to play. Each match is broken down into innings of play. During an inning of play, each player must pitch all 4 of his or her bags. An inning is never completed until all players pitch all 4 of his or her bags. So, there's a way, I don't know how they determine it, but when the game starts and the score is 0-0, somebody's got to be the first one. So, Team A, Player A throws 4 bags. Okay? Team B, Player A throws their 4 bags. Now, all bags are down there. Depending on the score, I believe the person who had the score or the last score team is the one that pitches first on that end. So let's say Team A scored the point, Team B scored nothing. So that means that Team A, Player B, would pitch his 4 bags, and then Team B, Player B, would pitch his 4. Now they're all back up this way. It's not complicated. I make it sound complicated, but it's not complicated. You take daggone turns throwing the bag. Boom, end of story. You got it done. Both players stay in their designated lane for the whole game, all right, left or right of the board. Players start the game at the headboard and will alternate pitching bags until each player has pitched all 4 bags. You take turns. Players then walk to the end of their lane to the other court, take score, and resume pitching bags back to the other board. So everybody goes down to take score. Oh man, you can see that stuff. We didn't do any of that. Top of the inning is completed when the first player pitches all 4 bags. The bottom of the inning is completed when the remaining player pitches all 4 bags. Whoo! So this team pitches it down that way. That team pitches it up this way. End of the inning. Double cornhole matches. Scoring. Let's get to scoring. The approved method of scoring for the sport cornhole is cancellation scoring. All right. So, in cancellation scoring, the points of one player cancel out the points of the other opponent. Using this method, only one player team can score in each inning. Or you don't score at all. So, the way it works, that I understand it, I pitch a bag and it goes in the hole. That's the only bag I get on the board at all. I get 1 in the hole. That gives me 3 points. This guy does the exact same thing. He gets 1 in the hole. All the rest of the bags fly off the board. He gets 3. His 3 cancel my 3. So the score at that point, at the half inning, is 0-0. That's how the cancellation works. So if I score one in the hole and one on the board, that's 4 points. He scores one in the hole, none on the board. He's got 3 points. His 3 cancel my 3 out, but I get to keep my 1 point. So now the score is 1-0. I think that's the way it works. Let's read on. Bag in the court. Woody. Any bag which comes to rest anywhere on top of the board, each is worth 1 point. Bag in a hole. Cornhole! That's what you yell. They love it when you yell cornhole. Any bag which is thrown through the hole or knocked in through the hole by another bag, each is worth 3 points. Let's see, I got that right. I picked up some pointers today. Foul bags refer to any bag that has not been determined as bag in the court or bag in the hole, or was designated as a foul bag when the results of the rules violation. So those are the ones that slide off the board, and that's 90% of what was happening today. Then hit that slick stuff and just slide right off the board. That goes on to describe, foul bag rules violation, position of players during pitching rotation. The player or team who scored in the preceding inning has honor pitching first in the next inning. If neither player or team scores, the player or team who pitched first in the preceding frame shall retain first pitch in the next frame. The pitcher must be within the pitcher's box or behind the foul line at the time of release. The player must pitch all 4 bags from their designated pitcher's box. Players must pitch the bag with an underhand release. Well, there it is. I am a rule violator. You've got to pitch it underhand. You can't throw it baseball style. You can't do the hook shot. You can't do the jump shot, the 3-pointer from way out. It's got to be underhanded. Well, I have to say I'm a cheater, pumpkin eater. But there is. The player must pitch the bag with an underhand release. Foul bag rule violations. Any bag pitched when the player has made contact with or crossed over the foul line. A bag pitched when the player has started or stepped completely out of the pitcher's box before the bag is released. Any bag not delivered within 20-second time limit. A bag pitched from a different pitcher's box than the first bag. Any bag that has contacted the court or the ground before coming to rest on the board. So none of the bags that hit the ground in our case bounced at all, not even to get up on the board. Any bag that struck a previously defined object, such as a tree limb, wire, indoor court ceiling, etc. Any bag removed from the board before scoring has been agreed upon for that bag. The offending team who does that forfeits all remaining bags and tallies the score of just the bags thrown before the foul was reported. A non-offending team tallies 12 points as if they had thrown the 4 bags in the hole. Wow, that's a biggie. Better you don't touch nothing until you decide what the score is. A bag that leaves the player's hand once the final forward swing of the delivery process has started shall count as a pitched bag. A bag that is accidentally dropped by a player before the final forward swing has started shall not be considered a foul and may be picked up and pitched. Protest the player's desire to make a protest, blah, 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 blah. Traditionally, you're played to 21. So there you go. Lots and lots of rules. But, like I said, if you're wanting to play the game, you got to play by the rules. So it was an interesting day. It was a day where I didn't have to do work. We got fed desserts, lunch, snacks, iced tea, the whole 9 yards. It was nice. Good to fun, laughing, playing, cutting up. And like I said, they had other games, but I didn't play Jenga or I told a guy he was supposed to bring the game Operation. I would have liked to have played Operation, but he didn't bring it. So a couple other games there that nobody really played, and they had music playing in the inside where we ate and stuff was air conditioned. So if you got hot, you could go inside. They had restrooms. It was nice, really nice. So anyway, that's cornhole in a nutshell. A lot going on, and I tell you, people take it serious. With rules like that, got to be serious. Otherwise, people cheat. Clell says he's learned more about cornhole than he ever imagined. More than you'd ever want to. More than you'd ever want to. Still can't figure out. There says 3 viewers. You're the only one. Robert, are you out there? Hello. I think Robert heard me say if he chimed in, I was going to make him call so he could describe his day at the pickanicka. Pickanicka. So, I don't know. He's not chiming in. Maybe it's not him. Maybe it's somebody else. Anyway, look for a couple more podcasts to come up. And I don't understand this podcast thing. I'm still trying to roll it around in my head. I was listening to Joe Rogan's podcast tonight, and I'm thinking, why do they call it a podcast, man? If you want to, you can watch the video. It's like a YouTube video. Of course, YouTube threw him off. I don't know why, but he went to Spotify, and instead of videos, the podcasts. I don't know, but anyway, I'm gonna put a couple more out there. I'm just gonna, as time comes along, I'm gonna throw some more out there. Like I said, you can watch podcasts or listen to the podcast. I did the first one as just audio. I wish I had people that were listening and watching them or whatever to see if putting up the video is better or just audio. I don't know. Because, you can listen to it, you just don't have to watch the video. But it's I'm sure, taking up more bandwidth. Even though the video is not being seen by you, your listening or phone device, whatever, is still playing it. It's still picking that up. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. I don't know. But anyway, watch, like, subscribe, get on and follow the Spotify. Get on Spotify or Google Podcasts. Follow Minutes with Milo podcast. So, I'm sure there's a notification bell there too. Let you know when the new ones come up. Like I said, you don't have to watch. You can listen. But as always, I appreciate everybody that came. Appreciate everybody that's watching. Comment. I appreciate that. And Monday night, who knows what the topic will be. But anyway, I don't know if I'll ever buy a cornhole game. Maybe. Who knows? I definitely would not get good enough to play in tournaments. But there are places that do tournaments and you do win money. So anyway. All right, everybody. Well, Robert, if you're sneaking around out there in the back, people, if you're new to the show, thanks for watching. And we'll see you again, I hope, Monday. Watch for it.